The voice in your ears and the face on your screen. I'm Perfect Pervis, and this is American Football in Finland. Today, I'm joined by my co-host, Q Floyd.
What's going on? What's going on? We back.
We are back at it again, Q. The AFF podcast is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. Seriously, American Football in Finland is currently available on 25 different platforms. Wherever you listen, be sure to rate us. Anything less than 5 stars will tell us that you are a hater. Don't be a hater. Give us 5 stars. This is season 5 for AFF. We really appreciate all the support we've been getting so far. Just a little update. We are almost at 1,000 followers on Instagram, which is pretty much the only social platform we actually engage on. So if you're not following us, go follow us at American Football in Finland. We're trying to get to that 1K. Just, putting on for the sport here in Finland. But before we get into the podcast, Q, how was your weekend, man?
Oh, man, weekend was good, man. I enjoyed the games that I did see. I just chilled out, man, in a hot desert, man, enjoying life.
Yeah, I think for me it was the same situation. If anybody saw any games this weekend, Friday, me and Ella Rose were out there all up on the international television. I look like a Star-Spangled Flag out there. Okay, I want to tell people, though, like, the reason I was dressed that way, I wasn't just, trying to be patriotic of the States. It literally was wash day, and the only thing I had left was those pair of swimming shorts that I was wearing, and they just happened to be, like, USA colors. So I just threw on a USA top to match it because it was hot out there, and that shirt was really thin. But it was super hot out there, and I wasn't trying to wear nothing thick like I normally wear out here in Finland. So that's the look that ended up coming out, and Ella Rose was out there, being cute like she always was. So just wanted to get that off my chest because, people been, inboxing me, hitting me on the Facebook. Yeah, we was out there. We was USA. But all right, man, let's get into the podcast. All right, Q, it's that time. What's on your mind, man? Let's get it off your chest.
Oh, man, I don't know. I would say these Finnish referees again. Oh, man. I think during this pandemic time, the flags that are being thrown, the flags that are not being thrown, I just don't get it, man. I mean, I seen some crazy plays over this weekend that I did not believe should have ever happened, but they did. And I know that, they're trying to do their best, but some of this stuff is game-changing. But I don't know. I mean, I'm always be a critic of the refs sometimes, but this weekend I just seen some things where I was just like, I couldn't believe it happened, man.
I ain't mad at you. It is interesting what's been going on with the referees. What I want to get off my chest is all you haters out there. I'm talking to you guys, the haters, all right? Look, last week I was 3-0. 3-0 on my pick'em. Nobody said nothing. I ain't get no inbox. I ain't get no congratulations, perfect, nothing. I'm wrong on Thursday. Inbox flooded. Instagram, I'm getting messages. Oh, you don't know nothing. Friday, another upset. You picked the wrong team. Y'all sleeping on them. Blase. And I know it's all fun and games, but come on, man. Get off my back. I was right on Saturday. it ain't – I'm not upset or nothing, but, I know the haters out there. I know the trolls out there, and I appreciate it. But y'all remember, I'm right a lot more than I'm wrong, okay? Don't forget that. That's all my chest. That's all I had.
Tell him, Perv. Tell him.
Tell him. All right, let's do our offensive defensive player of the week. Q, who do we got for offense?
Offensive player of the week comes from the Kuopio Steelers running back, Lamar Carswell. He had 10 rushes, 281 yards, and 4 TDs.
How many? How many touchdowns?
4 TDs. 4.
Man, this guy averaged 28 yards a carry, right? He only got about 10 carries. 10 carries, 281 yards. That's crazy.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. That might be. I mean, I know it's still early in the season, but I put this up for offensive performance of the year. Should we do that? We should do like an award or something, right?
We can, because this right what he doing right now is getting ridiculous.
Yeah, that's just crazy. But on the defensive side, we're gonna again go with the Kuopio Steelers, and I got Tommy K. Tommy Kaczocha. Oh, damn it! I'm gonna say his name wrong. Tommy Kaczocha. Tommy Kaczocha had 3 tackles, 2 interceptions, and a PBU. But more than he had the 2 interceptions, which kind of set him apart from a lot of other defenders this week. More than the stats was that Tommy is that guy for them, and he competes every time. It's really interesting to see him, even against the Butchers. He was playing in the slot position, and I thought that originally they were just going to have him follow Mikko Seppänen, but it looks like they really had him in that slot and had him playing like a true nickel/outside linebacker, because he was involved in the run game as much as the pass game from that slot position, which, I mean, originally he's a safety, so that's not a bad spot for him to be, but he was also able to, make a couple plays on the ball in the air, which, as you can see, he had the 2 interceptions. So just all around good job by him. And those are our offense and defensive players of the week. Okay, so inside the numbers, here are a couple of the team stats that you guys need to know about the weekend, what happened each game. First game, Helsinki Roosters played against Seinäjoki Crocodiles. Crocodiles got the win. Q, what are some of the stats that stood out about those 2 teams in that game?
Some of the stats that stood out in that game were actually the total yards. 242 total yards from the Roosters, and the Crocs 248 yards. And the Roosters having 2 turnovers and the Crocs having none. I think that played a big part in the Crocs winning that game. It obviously was an upset in everybody's eyes. It's an upset. Nobody's used to seeing the Roosters 0-2. So that was a big game. That was honestly a big game for the Crocs, but the Roosters yardage wasn't the normal. Didn't get the offensive production that they normally get. So that's why the game ended the way it did.
Yeah, I agree. With the Wolverines and Wassa game, the Royals had 491 total yards, almost 500, and it was split pretty evenly. They had 211 yards rushing, 280 throwing. But what really set them apart in this game was they were 6 for 12 on third down, while the Wolverines were only 2 for 7 on third downs. And also a weird stat, and this kind of goes against what we always say, but the Wolverines only had 1 turnover in this game, while the Royals had 2. But the Royals were able to just outperform them statistically throughout the game. Moving on to the third game of the weekend, what did you see from the Kuopio Steelers and Porvoo Butchers game?
Well, the Steelers had 300 rushing yards, and 280 from those. 280 of them came from the running back, Lamar Carswell. Steelers also were 6 for 12 on third down, and they had 0 turnovers. The Butchers had 2 interceptions, both by Tommy K. So I think that ultimately was the factor. Besides, Kuopio made more bigger plays in that game, and they couldn't stop the running back. So Kuopio was a good game for them offensively, even though it was majority from one person. But can't complain with that. With running back getting those type of yards, can't complain.
300 yards. I mean, I don't care if it's only one person. That's just incredible. All right. So in case you missed it, there were a lot of great performances in week 2 of the Maple League, and obviously you're going to see some different stats and photos online, but we like to go over a group of guys from each game that really stood out and had great performances outside of those normal names that you hear. So in the first game, you had the Roosters and the Crocodiles. An interesting stat that a lot of people probably won't put together is that the Roosters running backs, you have Antti Lahtinen and Morad, I want to say Daifi. I'm not sure how to say your last name, sorry. But those 2 together had 17 carries for 90 yards. That's a 5.3 yard average per carry, which means the Roosters running game was actually successful in this game that they lost, and they looked bad in overall. So just throwing that out there for anybody who wants to know, we're inside the numbers out here. Also, for the Crocodiles had some outstanding performances. Christian Powell, 20 carries, 145 yards, 3 touchdowns. He was the man. Probably was a candidate for Player of the Week. Definitely showed out in this game and proved why he is, MVP candidate. Jaska Vatanen had 9 tackles, 1 tackle for loss, and a PBU. Interesting about Jaska's performance is that he was active inside the box and outside the box. Early in the game, when the Roosters were trying to get their running game going, he was the guy that finished a lot of those plays. But later in the game, when the Roosters started, throwing the ball, he was guarding slot receivers. I mean, like 15, 20 yards down the field, breaking up plays, getting in the way. Like, he was active all around that field. And if you didn't notice that, then you weren't watching the game. Jaska Vatanen is the heart of that defense for the Crocodiles. But newcomer Hadrian Linda, playing cornerback, he had 5 tackles and 3 PBUs. They tried him all game. And he showed up every time. Every time they tried him, he showed up big and held his own at the cornerback position. So just big ups to you, man. We're out there watching. What about that second game? You seen some star performers out there?
Yeah, the Royals quarterback Brandon Gwinner he had a great game at 111 yards rushing, 3 touchdowns. He had 280 yards passing and 2 passing TDs. So he totaled up for five touchdowns in that game. So he had a great game. I mean, if some of these guys wouldn't have had a good game the next day, he probably been the front runner for my offensive player of the week. But and then you got Alpha the Juice, man. Shout out. He had 9 receptions, 213 yards, 2 touchdowns. And if you watch the game, you can see that you can't guard him one-on-one. I don't care if it's American, whoever. Like, there is no guarding him all game one-on-one. He's going to pretty much do what he want to do. So Alpha had a good game. Salute to him. And then you got Cedric Willie Beeman Johnson. As long as his last name is Johnson, hey, he going to be on, man. Ced is a big play receiver. I would love to see Ced get the ball more. Too bad the quarterback kind of went out in the game early, so it kind of took away from his offensive production. But he still had 6 catches, 132 yards, and a touchdown. But he had some amazing catches that game. Ced still got it.
Yeah.
I can honestly say, right, I mean, just to elaborate on Ced a little more, if you think about Europe, Ced is probably one of those people who actually changed positions from a quarterback to a receiver and didn't miss a step. Like, really didn't miss a step. Like, he still is good. He's older than a lot of these guys, but Ced still got that juice. And then next we got William James. He had 11 tackles, 2 tackles for loss, and 1 forced fumble. So that was a pretty good defensive game for him.
Yeah, I want to talk about William James. I was surprised by his contribution for the Wolverines because defensively they didn't have a great game, and he was playing kind of like the outside linebacker position. So a lot of times when he's making the tackles, they're downfield. But he was ending drives, and there was a lot of times where we thought Alpha Jello was about to, be gone. And that number 37 is a guy that showed up a lot of times and kind of ended the, oh my God, Alpha's about to make another highlight. So just wanted to say we definitely see William James making an impact in his first game with the Wolverines. He sat out in week 1. But the last game of the weekend, you got the Steelers, and we've already talked about the Steelers versus the Butchers. Sorry, didn't mean to ignore y'all Butchers. But we already talked about 2 guys from the Steelers, but another guy from the Steelers that had a really good performance was Josh Vanderweed. Had 5 receptions, 97 yards, and a touchdown. Kind of did most of the receiving work for Seth in this last game, even though they didn't really have to throw the ball that much. But he was very clutch and made a lot of big plays. So really good to see him out there doing his thing. And on the other side, you got our guy, Mikko Seppänen, showing up, 6 receptions, 94 yards, and a touchdown. This is the kind of performance we expect to see from him every week. I think that week 1 game that they played, the Butchers were trying to find themselves, even Jabari himself, and the passing game wasn't as consistent. In this second game, even though their team didn't ultimately get the victory, Seppänen was there. He was apparent. You had to watch for him. And he made his contribution to make that offense move down the field. So really glad to see him have a great performance. The last guy we're going to talk about is another Steelers guy, actually, because now we're going to talk about defensive guy. Semi Raji had 6 tackles, 3 tackles for loss. Okay, he's playing defensive end, and normally in this league, Maple League, it's a pass-happy league. A lot of these defensive ends are just pass rushing, just trying to get to the quarterback – on the pass plays. This guy, he's helping in the run game and the pass game. You know, he's actually playing that full defensive lineman position, and he's getting to the running back before the running back can get to the line of scrimmage, which means he's killing his one-on-one matchups with the offensive lineman. So just wanted to give you a shout out, Sydney. We see you out there working in the trenches, man. And in case you missed it, that's some of the great performances from week 2. All right, so we're bringing it back. This week, there was a play. There was a play that Coach Q saw that made him shake his head. Q, tell us a little bit about what we're about to see, man.
Oh, man. This week's choice of nah, bruh, comes from the arrogant, conceited baller, Mr. Tommy Kaczocha. I do like Tommy. I will say that it's no personal feelings, but we're going to need you to get in that weight room a little bit more because Jabari is a linebacker / quarterback, man. So you got to come next time. You got to come a little bit harder. But Tommy Kaczocha, you up next for the Nah Bruh session of the week.
All right, in other news, we're going to talk about what's going on in the world outside of the Maple League. Let's talk about Division 1, the results. The Kotke Eagles beat the Rovaniemi Nordman 104-0. Now, we got to talk about that. Like,
Yeah,
I didn't see the game, and I don't even care to see the game. I don't know if I'm upset at the Eagles or if I'm upset at the Nordman. No, I'm not gonna lie. I'm upset at the Nordman because I don't care who you is. I don't care who you is. Giving up 100 points. Like, why are you on the field? Why are you on? You're not hard. It's hard to score 100 points, even if the team lets you score like every play. Like, you know how bad you got to play or how bad you got to not want it to lose 104-0 with a running clock, from what I heard.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you think, Q? I'm just that's how I feel about it.
I've been a part of a 99-0 game in Finland, and we beat ECG. Well, I'm talking about the Helsinki 69s. We beat ECG the first time we played 99-0, and it's pretty much like that. You kind of score on every drive, no punts, any interceptions turn into touchdowns, stuff like that. I will say during that win, it was a little bad blood from some people in the organizations on both sides. So that's why we ran up the score, but I'm not sure about Coca and Rovaniemi. I mean, I think they have a pretty good, friendship-wise organization, players-wise. I don't know why they scored 104 points. I'm going to be honest. Like, I'm okay with the mercy rule, too. But at the same time, I feel like they could have maybe, it's been a crazy year, I should say. Yeah. It's not even it's been a crazy year, and I feel like you're lucky to have certain players even wanting to play. And I feel like it's, for Rovaniemi, I will say it'll take a lot for them to come and practice this week after a loss like that, man. So it's more than just the score. I think it's sportsmanship too. Being that the year's been so crazy, like you just want to kind of keep the season going. I don't know if they have to play each other again, but like I think Coca could have probably peeled back a little bit. I don't know if they did or they didn't try to, but 104, I'm pretty sure Nessie was out there probably bombing, every play if he can. So I'm a little half and half about it, but I think they could have probably peeled off a little bit.
Yeah, the word on the street is they put in their backups and just they were that much better. That I find that's what I find a little disheartening is if a team can put in their backups and still put up points on you, at that point I started thinking like, why are we even here? But another, speculation, no facts. We didn't watch the game or anything. But Rovaniemi is a long way away from Kotka, and they had to play in Kotka. So maybe they didn't have a full team. Maybe they were missing guys. Maybe that's why. Maybe they were thin on people as well and couldn't afford to keep up with that team for that long anyways. There's a lot of things, but it's just an interesting fact. Just know somebody scored 104 points out there this year. 104. Oh, that's crazy. But also in Division One news, the Tampa Bay Saints beat the Pori Bears 54-6. And today, when we're recording this, the UNC Crusaders are going to be playing the East City Giants. Just to say one more thing about the scoring, this is something we said before the season started, that each week was either going to be, like lopsided scores or super close because of the COVID situation, people not really prepping to play these games beforehand and knowing like how teams are going to play. And this is what we've seen in almost every level is a lot of the games they'll be close for a little bit and then it's all of a sudden score go crazy. And even in Division One, so far this year, I think Division One games, all of them have been blowouts. I don't think anybody's like won a close game. The women's league is a little bit different, which takes us to the women's Maple League, which was off this week. But just wanted to say, we've been contacted by some people like, hey, AFF, why don't y'all cover the women's and da-da-da? Hey, man, we're working on a limited personnel group, okay? And we would love to, cover the women's sports side of the sport a little bit more, but we would need some help. And so if anybody wants to help us, send us a DM. Contact perfectpervis@gmail. I think it's actually contact@AmericanFootballinFinland.com. It's a very long one. But just send us a DM in the Instagram. And if you feel like you can help us and give us the information so that we can cover the sport, then we're willing to do it. But as of right now, we're stretched thin. We're hosting a podcast. We're covering the Maple League. That's all we can afford to do. There's only a few of us doing this thing, and none of us are getting paid. It's costing me a couple $100 a month. Don't tell my wife. So let's just leave it at that. If you can help us help grow the sport and cover the women's side of it, we would love to have you. Just hit us up. So next thing in other news, let's talk about football in Europe. We're over the whole GFL thing. We're gonna let that go. But last weekend, Denmark was the second league in Europe to start back after COVID. The Sollerud Gold Diggers beat the Aalborg 89ers 62-12. Another blowout. Just saying. I think that's how all games are gonna be this year. But this weekend, Denmark is going to continue playing. I think a few more of their teams are playing this weekend. The Czech Republic has games scheduled. And, things have kind of been changed, but I know Switzerland has scheduled like some exhibition type games. Even Jeff Buffum, the head coach from Kalanda Broncos, I think he said he's going to be playing quarterback in some of those games. So what are your thoughts on football in Europe, man?
I mean, it's good. I know some places are still trying to savage. Not savage, but still trying to save a little bit of season, and just get their guys to at least get some type of experience, because football is one of those games, man. You missing a year can mean a lot.
Yeah.
It really can mean a lot. Like not just for the organization, but for your body, for your mental. You see it all the time with players in the NFL and other sports that take a year off or they hurt for a year and they come back and they're not the same anymore. Like they don't really understand that it changes you. It changes your body, everything. So it's good to see some of these other countries trying to have something going on for their leagues and their teams. So I raise my hat to them.
Yeah, that's everything outside of the Maple League for us. All right, so let's get into these week 2 games, win or loss. First game of the weekend, Thursday night, Seinäjoki Crocodiles defeat the Helsinki Roosters. What are you thinking, Q? Was that a win by the Crocs or more of a loss by the Roosters? It's fine. We can talk about it either way.
I picked the Roosters to win. So I'm going to say the Roosters lost that game. The Roosters are just not playing Rooster football right now. And I said this before the season started. They have to find out what team they're going to beat. If they're going to be the local team, the national team, then you have to play like it. If you wanted to go all national, then you need to play like it. I don't want to hear about no injuries. I don't want to hear, unless it's your quarterback being injured or something like that. I don't want to hear about the injuries, because everybody knows the Roosters is supposed to have depth. So if you got a guard hurt or a DN hurt or whatever, you should be able to throw somebody right in there that even if I'm not saying they have to be Edu, but they still should be able to get some pressure on the quarterback. They still should be able to stop the run. You still have a plethora of players on defense still that are seasoned players, and they can't help at all on the run game. And they're just not playing Rooster football. I mean, from watching the game, it just doesn't look the same. I haven't seen them have so many 3 and outs. Just the play is sporadic. It's just, I don't know. I'm just not used to seeing them play like that. So I would say the Roosters lost that game. I mean, the Crocs did make the plays they need to make to win that game, but I still think the Roosters lost the game.
Yeah, I agree. I put them down as for losing that game as well. And of course, when we say this, guys, it's no disrespect to the Crocodiles. It's just the heavier overlying issue is that this Rooster team played bad. And in my opinion, neither team played great. But this Rooster team played really bad. You got a defensive front that had no pressure in the run or the pass game. On the offensive side, I feel like they didn't do – similar to what happened in the first week, I feel like there was times where they showed what they did well. We stated earlier in the show, they ran the ball fine. They had a 21-year-old and a 41-year-old running back. So their average age is a 31-year-old running back. So together, they were averaging 5 yards a carry. The Roosters' offensive line, they controlled the line of scrimmage. Even in the pass plays where Miro is running around like he's scared of dying, he didn't have to. He's just, fight or flight. If you watch the game, that offensive line played well, both in the run and the pass game, but the team didn't respond to it. They were able to run the ball, but they kept passing. Even when they were passing, Miro was moving the pocket that didn't need to be moved. Pocket is set. Instead of stepping up, he rolls out, which puts the offensive lineman in a position where now I can't block. Because now if I go for this guy, I'm holding. So now he is running and trying to save his life, and he has nobody to throw to. Johannes Johainen not playing in that game, it showed up big. I think Alex Wasseljeff played well, but he couldn't do it by himself for Miro. They need at least 2 big play receivers. Late in the game, Ericala caught a lot of passes, but when the game was on the line and they had a chance to win it, Wasseljeff was the only guy there, and he wasn't enough. And I think you look at Johannes and how he played in the first game, having almost 300 yards receiving, that's something that you miss. It's kind of like missing your star import in that second game against the Crocodiles. I just think like their offense played decent. It could have been better. I mean, their defense, I'm not saying anything good about the Roosters' defense from this game. It was bad. But your offensive line played well, and the back end didn't support them. So now it looks like they're not as good as they are. I still believe this Roosters' offensive line was probably the best one in the league right now. But they lost it, but we don't want to just talk about the Roosters. Let's talk about what the Crocodiles did well in this game. I mean, Christian Powell, right? The man, the legend. What the biggest thing I saw a difference from week 1 to week 2 with this team when it came to Christian Powell in the run game was in this game, they let Christian Powell do what he does. I think in the first week game, they were doing a lot of stuff that I don't think necessarily was to his strengths. A lot of times he just didn't get a chance to get started. He's getting hit in the backfield. So, and obviously everybody knows you want to stop somebody from running, hit them before they start. In this game, they weren't even blocking the overhang player from the Roosters. That safety, that outside linebacker, they weren't blocking them. And Christian Powell was making that dude miss and keep going. Like, that's what he does because he got him in space. And then he could go in between the tackles, and in the middle they were able to get a push. But ultimately, they were saying, okay, all we have to do is hold his line so he can get to it. And after that, you let Christian Powell do what he do. And they did everything they could to hold that line. And you can see that offense it's tough to deal with when you know that Christian Powell can make at least 2 people miss. And he did that. Even on all the scores he made that first guy that was unblocked miss, and then he broke tackles after that at the second and third level. So just incredible. And my hats go off to this Crocodiles offense that played the way we expected them to play from week one. So I think that they're figuring it out. And even with Spencer Cutler, the quarterback, I think he was able to do some things well. And having Timmy Thomas make only two catches, but two incredible catches. It made a difference. Both of those catches moved the ball, got them first downs, got them out of bad situations where they could get back to the run game. And then they also had situations where Robitaille caught a slant and then dipped off on the Roosters' defensive backs. Three of them missed a tackle on them. So those type of plays is what we were kind of expecting in week one, and we didn't get them. But now that we got them in week two, we're hoping we can see those going forward. So my hat goes off to the Crocodiles for stepping up offensively and showing us what we really wanted to see.
Yeah. Just to kind of piggyback off that just a little bit. I was about to say Spencer did he didn't try to do too much this game, and I like that. I think that they looked and said, okay, let's try to get Christian the ball as much as possible in certain situations, and the second and longs and third and longs, let's not do fades and posts. Let's have Tim do crossers, digs, and when anytime Spence came outside the pocket or just even the little seams, you know what I mean? Like him and Tim got chemistry. They played together a lot, so he's comfortable with him. Like you said, Tim made two great catches, and I think the Crocs took advantage of what they could take advantage of this game, and that was Christian Powell. Now you have to get him going. He's better to me in between the tackles, and if you see his runs, that's where he met, because once he gets to those linebackers and safeties, it's pretty much a done deal. Like a lot of people don't want to tackle him, especially when he's full speed ahead like that. I think the Crocodiles.
I wouldn't want to tackle. Yeah, I'm just putting that out on record.
And I think they were comfortable at home. The Crocs was comfortable at home and rested, and I think they was excited for this game because they felt like literally, like if you watch the film, I think they felt like we could beat them. If just to anybody in the Maple League right now, if you want to beat any team, all you have to do is run the ball. I mean, that's pretty much what's going on. Nobody is playing run defense in the Maple League at all. And the reason is like that is because it's been such a pass-happy league. People have got their team. They've tried to structure their team to stop the pass and forgot about the run game. And now everybody is getting exposed in the run game. You can pretty much – everybody's giving up 200 yards rushing easily, almost 200 yards rushing. So if you want to win, I think the Crocs just did what they could, and that was run the ball and throw when they needed to.
Yeah, and just last thing I would say about this game, even on the other side of the ball, the Roosters were able to run the ball. They had 90-something yards rushing. I mean, that's not nothing to laugh at. Like, if you can rush for 100 yards in a game, I don't care if it's one person or a committee, that's a solid game. You want to rush for 100, pass for 200 in these leagues nowadays. The Roosters were able to run against the Crocodiles effectively, but did not stick to it. So, like you said, if you really want to win, just run the ball. There's nobody stopping anybody.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let's get to the second game Friday night. Also, Royals came down to Helsinki, played Helsinki Wolverines, and left with the dub, man. What do you think? Was it a win or a loss?
That game, I thought that game was going to be a lot closer than what it was. The Wolverines quarterback had an injury, kept him out most of the game. I think if he stays in the game and plays majority of that game, I think we have a closer game. I think the Royals realized what the situation was with a backup quarterback with not a lot of experience, and they sent pressure. And that's what you get when you have Coach Booker and you got Stacy, defensive guys. Stacy's defensive, guru too. So he knew, like, all right, y'all putting y'all backup in. All right, well, he got to make some throws. And then once again, the running back for the Wolverines. I mean, he was gashing the Royals. He was gashing the Royals defense, man. And I think if Forcier plays the whole game, I think it might be probably some close different outcome because they were doing pretty much what they wanted to do when he was in the game. He's mobile, he can run, he can throw. When he left the game, he kind of gave him a one-dimensional thing to do. But Watson quarterback, he's a watching him these 2 weeks. He's a kind of like one of those those brawler quarterbacks. Like, he might not wow you with his arm, but he will save some plays. He will get the ball out sometimes, and he just be like, how did he do that? Or like, if some of his runs, I'm just like, man, this dude right here he got heart. Like, he just one of those people, I think, who is just a player. Like, he likes to show up in clutch times, and he got the ball to Alpha, and he they did what they had to do to win the game.
So win or loss, man?
I know I went off of that. I'll say the Royals won the game.
Yeah, that's what I said too. I'm just glad we be on the same page. I think the Royals won the game, and basically, like what you said, was obviously that injury to Chris Fortier changed everything about how this game finished. And we can't really speculate on what would have happened, but we know it would have been different. But what the Royals did was, I feel like in their second game, they did similar to what they did in the first game. In the first half, they're down by 1 point because of missed field goal, but basically it's a tie game, and they didn't play as well as they should have. In the first quarter, they have 2 turnovers in the red zone, or right outside the red zone, if I'm not mistaken, and also a bobbled snap on a punt, which gives the Wolverines the ball inside the 20. So that's 3 unforced errors. Like, these weren't forced fumbles. These were, the guy was moving and fumbled the ball, or they were trying to pitch it and it fumbled. Like, these are unforced errors in the first quarter that probably cost them 2 more touchdowns. And if they had those 2 touchdowns at halftime and then the injury to Fortier, like, this is a blowout from the beginning, and you never think it was close. But what they didn't do was they didn't, dig a hole. They stayed the course. Even a little bit of shout out to Seppo at halftime. He was saying, I'm not tired, they're tired, kind of foreshadowing what was going to happen in the second half, where they really just, put it on the Wolverines, a team that without their quarterback seemed like they had no idea what was going on, which is unfortunate. But that's what happens when one team goes in at halftime, makes adjustments, and another team says, well, we're going to just hope our quarterback comes back. So I really think the Royals were a better team. And just to speak on, again, your boy Brandon Gwinner, the quarterback, he's something. All right. Week 1, I was a little shocked to see his running style. But week 2, yeah, like you said, he can run, he can throw. He has a big, strong arm, but he likes to run, and he's a bruiser. He's not going to make you miss. He will put his shoulder down, run you over, keep running, get more yards. If it's only to get a first down, he's going to dive and get that extra yardage. Like, he's constantly trying to make the big plays. So having someone like him at the quarterback position on this team going to make them dangerous every week. And against the Wolverines, I really just think the Royals were the better team for all 4 quarters. Just can't have the excuse of saying an injury would have changed. I'm not speculating. In this game, they played better. They looked like they were going to win pretty much from the second half on, which they did in week 1 as well. So it's just a win for the Royals for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so speaking of the last game of the weekend, we got the Kuopio Steelers versus the Porville Butchers. What are you saying? Win, loss? What are you thinking?
Butchers. I think the Butchers lost this game.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the Butchers lost this game. They play, I think, some steady first halves. I mean, the Butchers last 2 weeks, the Butchers have had some steady first halves. I mean, when you think about, like we said, their roster, the defense not really having any big names on their defense, but they're coming into these first halves like in the game.
Yeah,
literally in the game.
7 points in week 1, 20 points in week 2, but only down by a touchdown. So that's 2 really good games.
Yeah, that was a good first half. So I think when they get to that second half, they're either like out of gas or the momentum just goes away at halftime or something. I don't know. But yeah, I definitely think the Butchers lost this game. Not taking it away from what Kuopio was doing, but I think if you're that close to beating a team, or you have the ability to beat those teams, I think you got to find a way to just bring out more in your players and bring out more juice. I mean, these guys now they're not gonna take it away. Butchers was trying, like they really was trying. Like some teams just don't have the players, but I do think they have some guys that will play their hardest. And then they got Jabari as a leader. And I think when you got somebody on that team like that who he's gonna give his all, it'll kind of trickle down to the rest of the guys. I think it's a lack of talent in certain places for the Butchers is the reason why they're losing these games. But I still think they was in a position to, make a play. Like, I mean, the turnovers kind of killed the drive sometimes. Because really, I can live with Carswell getting his yards because you still gonna kind of be in the game. But then you give up a bomb to Tino. That takes all the air out of your defense sometimes. So yeah, I'll still say the Butchers lost the game, man. They had opportunity to go up and try to somewhat capture this game. They just didn't have the energy to do it.
I feel bad because I'm going the same. I'm saying the Butchers lost the game. Even though, again, it is no disrespect to what Kuopio did because they played phenomenally. But like you said, the Butchers had the chance. Originally, I didn't watch the first half. I had to go back and see it later. But I started watching it the second half when it was live. And second half, it's halftime is 20-14. Butchers down by a touchdown. I'm like, okay, I can live with them giving up 40 points and scoring 28-30. Like, we went into the game saying they were going to lose. I didn't expect them to win, but how they lost makes a difference in this aspect because they, like you said, in that first 2 minutes of the third quarter, Steelers get the ball, first play, Carswell, boom, gone, touchdown. They kick the ball off to the Butchers. Butchers go 3 and out, which is that's never a good thing. As soon as the Steelers get the ball, bomb to Tino. So now, instead of being down 20-14, you're down 34-14, just like that. And at that point, that's when the game's over for the Butchers because, like you said, they don't have the talent to put up those type of points that fast. And even if they were to score with them back and forth for the rest of the game, they're down by 3 touchdowns. That defense isn't going to make those type of big play stops and go that fast. But what I find disheartening is that I feel like this second game kind of proved that this is something that they're going to have to work on going forward next week when they play against the Roosters, especially. Can you come out of the locker room at halftime and know what the other team is going to do? Because it seems to me in this second half, they're like, okay, let's just keep doing what we're doing. When is that ever going to work? The other team, like you couldn't stop the run in the first place, and I understand that. Okay, when they come, but if you can't stop the run, and then the first play that they have is a run play, and you can't stop it, what did you change? What did you tell your guys? Did you tell them, oh, well, they've been running on us, so let's get ready for the pass? And then immediately after that run play, they throw a pass, and you can't stop that either. And that's a man-to-man situation. And, oh, well, but I'm more concerned about that first run play where the dude has 200-something yards already at the half. So they're going to, feed him early in the second half so they can get a bigger lead. We're not selling out on stopping that, and nobody makes that play. I feel like the Butchers, the talent, put that to the side. I think their offense was playing really good, but defensively, they have to make a stand at some point and say, we're not going to let you just run through us. This defense has shown that after halftime, we're not capable of doing more than what we did in the first 2 quarters. And that's why it's a loss for them because they cannot adapt and get better as the game goes on, which the 2 teams they lost to have shown, and they've lost to the 2 undefeated teams in the league. Both of those teams have shown that, hey, halftime is just halftime. We got more in the tank. And the Butchers have shown that, hey, we'll give you a good fight for the first 2 quarters, but the next 2, not so much. And I'm upset that I say lost to the Butchers because I just want to say this too. I think the offense played really well. I think that was probably one of the best versions of the Butchers offense we're ever going to see. And ignoring the interceptions and what happened late in the game because it got out of hand. But even going the first 3 quarters, I think the offense played how you would have wanted them to play as a team going forward. Just think the defense really is what screwed them over. That defense not holding tight because you need both sides of the ball. I think having Miko Sepinen involved this time, having Jabari actually have a run game. His running back got to run the ball instead of him having to run so much, which allowed him to be better in the passing game because he wasn't, breathing every play. So I think offensively they got something cooking and they're getting better. But defensively, you gotta decide that, hey, we're either gonna stop the run or we're gonna stop the pass. Right now they're not stopping anything. So what are you gonna do? But again, let's not, focus so much on negative. What about the Steelers? What do you think about what they did well in that game?
I think they're the most talented team right now in the Maple League. I think they on both sides of the ball they got weapons on both sides of the ball, and when you have that, you're more than likely to make bigger plays than the other team gonna make. When you got Tommy K out there and him being active, he doesn't even have to make a lot of plays. Sometimes it's just the fact that he's active, he's around, his energy, and the other players feed off of that because you can point out a few Steelers defensive players, definitely DBs, who didn't have the greatest games. Like, they didn't have the greatest games. But at the same time, when you got a guy like Tommy on there, always keeping those guys hyped, keep pumping them up, giving them the confidence that they need to become players. Because the only way that you become a better player is experience. And I think Kuopio right now has the most experienced players for situations like this. I think they're in playoff. I think they're in go mode already. Like, Kuopio was already had a chip on their shoulder. They got that you can see from the signings that they're doing that they're trying to win the whole thing. And I think in any sport, I think in any season, that should be every team's goal is to win. It should never be.
I want people to remember what we talked to Seth Peters before the season, and something that stuck out to us is he said, I hope everyone else is trying to win because we are trying to win and we don't care what the circumstances are. Like, he said it before the season and put everybody on notice. And I think people might have took that a little bit lightly. And this Steelers team is it's not a joke. In 2 games, they've scored 14 touchdowns.
Yeah. And that's what it is. I mean, people can feel how they want to feel about the Steelers, but they're doing what any team is supposed to do. You're supposed to put your team in the best situation to win the championship. And if your team is not doing that, it's because they don't want to win. And that's just point blank period. Now, whatever reasons they have, that's for the team. But you can't get mad or feel some kind of way because another team is going all out to win when that's what you're supposed to be doing anyway. They do it in every level of sports. Like, you need the best players, and I don't care how much money we spend to get these imports, that import. I do the same thing. If I was trying to win a championship and we got the money to do it, hey, I'm doing the same thing because pride – all that right there don't give you championships. You can have
at the end of the day,
you want to.
Yeah, at the end of the day, not one championship trophy or ring says pride on it. Not one that says, "Hey, you got this from Pride. You won Pride games." No, you got to win the game. The Steelers out here trying to win. They are winning. Yeah. They're in first place right now, putting up points every week.
Yeah,
7 touchdowns a week.
If they win the whole thing, it was worth it. That's how I see it.
Exactly.
When the whole thing, it was worth it. You should have did it. You know what I mean? So, Kuopio is probably the best team right now. I'll say one of the best teams, you know what I mean, if not the best team. So, hey, they doing what they supposed to do. They 2-0. That's what you wanted to do coming into the season. So,
they won the game we expected them to win, and they did it in a fashion that makes them look like the best team in the league. So, kudos to the Steelers, man. Good job. Okay, so we're here with Seinäjoki Crocodiles defensive back / receiver / running back / returner, Mr. He Can Do It All, Alec Germany, man. Welcome to the podcast.
I appreciate you having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's good to have you on, man. It's always good to get a little fresh blood out here in Finland. You've been in Europe before. Your reputation precedes you, as they say. So we're not even going to ask you all them questions. But we do want to talk about the game you guys just won against the Helsinki Roosters. And Q, you said you had a question for him.
Yeah, my question is from the first game to this second game, what's something that you guys really wanted to work on and really wanted to make sure you executed coming into this Roosters game?
Well, I think you said it right there, just to execute. Like, if you watch that game, we had a lot of just huge miscues and just completely missed assignments or not carrying out what you would think would be a simple assignment, and then also some discipline. So we had a really bad taste in our mouth, as you do after all losses, but this one in particular because, it was the first game. The whole Europe was watching the first, Division I or League One football game to be played, and we didn't put our best foot forward at all. And we, hats out to the Wolverines. They played a really good game, but we just shot ourselves in the foot over and over again. And just looking back on that film, it just hurt to know that we didn't really give ourselves a chance. So we were kind of itching to get back on the field and show what we were really about. So.
Yeah, so against the Roosters, you guys played a much more complete game, both on offense and defense. Just going into that game and actually looking back on it, what do you think really was, the recipe for why you guys were able to kind of dominate the former Maple League champions?
Well, we just, got back to the basics in practice. Like I said, eliminate the mental errors and just be able to play fast. Like, if you look back in the film, we didn't do a lot of crazy blitzing, stunting, and not a lot of trick plays. It was sort of real basic football, line up, play fast, and execute, and that's what we did. So we just focused on everyone doing their assignment, be responsible for their assignment, and play for your brother next to you, and that's kind of what we did. So it felt good. Roosters are obviously, everyone knows who the Roosters are and who they've been, and we knew it was going to be a tough task, and we were ready for it.
All right, Q, what else you got for him?
I guess this next question is to your next game. You got the Washington Royals next. Everybody knows Alpha July, one of the most dynamic, fastest, quickest receivers in Europe.
Right.
Do you plan on yourself taking that challenge, or is it some kind of game plan you guys got where you're gonna bracket him, or what? Like, how do you feel about?
So without divulging too much of the game plan, it feels up to me, the kind of competitor I am. I'd want him one-on-one every play, every down, follow him around the field because I want to go against the best. That's why I play, to play against the best. That's why I bounced around in Europe to try to, see where I can find the best competition and try to thrive in that situation. So if it was up to me, I'll follow him around and try to lock him up and then take it as a personal challenge. Now, it's not up to me. So we got to do what's best for the team. And so we got a few things cooked up, a few different looks we're going to throw at him, as you have to with great players. But, we can't just completely focus only on him. They got a couple other few guys that can hurt us too. So we got to just play sound football and, let the coaches put us in the right positions and we just go out and execute.
Gotcha.
All right, now my question, obviously you guys, it's going to be a big game. We're talking about Alpha and how, dynamic he is, but,
Sure. Alex
Germany, you're no slouch, my man.
No slouch.
Like I said before, defensive back, receiver, running back. I got because this is my last question, but I got two more. First question is, can you play quarterback?
Okay. I'll say this. I can play any position on the field, and that will include quarterback.
That's all I need to hear. That's all I need to hear. Okay,
yes,
so my second question I was going to ask you was, going into this game, something we've kind of got familiar with both the Crocodiles and, if I really want to be personal about it, the Timmy Thomas, Spencer Cutland type of Crocodiles is guys love to be creative on the offensive side of the ball. And again, like with someone like you who can do so much, do you guys have a couple, I don't call them trick. I call them great plays that you have planned for the Royals this weekend?
So our coaching staff does a really good job of using our personnel. And if you see our personnel, we got weapons everywhere that can play multiple positions, me being one of them. But also with this COVID situation, we haven't had much practice time. I had a practice and a half before our first game because I had to quarantine once I finally got over here after 3 failed attempts to get over here. So we haven't had much time, so we had to kind of just put in the basic stuff. But now that we've been together, have had some more practice time, some more field time, I think you start seeing some more creativity. Again, not to give up too much information, but you'll see me line up at quite a few spots in these next coming weeks. So as I like to say, just, get your popcorn ready because I plan on putting on the show.
All right.
Okay.
Q, did you have anything else for him? That's all I had. Perfect answer.
No, that's it. That's it. He answered everything, man. He answered
well, Alex Germany, we appreciate you coming on the podcast, man, and good luck to you and the Crocodiles next weekend against the Wausau Royals.
Again, I appreciate you guys having me. I'll come back anytime. I enjoy this.
All right.
Love what y'all doing.
All right, good luck, man.
I appreciate it. Take care.
Okay, so we're here with Kuopio Steelers linebacker Kadel King. Kadel, welcome to the podcast, man.
Hey, thank you for having me, man.
It's good to have you on. Look, we're going to get straight into it. Q has some questions he want to ask you about the last game. Go ahead, Q.
Last game, we seen you guys pretty much, control the game for the most part against the Butchers. How do you see yourself? How do you see yourself in a role as your role on this defense?
Well, my role in defense for last week's game was basically to make plays. It's changing now. We've got AJ because AJ's a beast, so it's gonna be changing. But I'll just have to be in a position to make sure I scrape up whatever the D line gives me. We have beasts on D line, Sammy, Shark, Timmy, and even Yanni. So like those guys be making plays. Whatever they miss, I have to be there for that. So that's my role. Now we got AJ coming in. It's gonna be changing a bit. I'll let y'all see it when we play Helsinki. But that was my role for last week's game.
Yeah. My question about last week's game was we've talked about it on the podcast earlier about how the Butchers usually play a good first half and then they had a horrible second half. But you guys is on the defensive side.
Yeah.
Your defense has kind of been evolving in the last 2 weeks. The first game against the Roosters, the first half looked a little bit different than the second half. And then against the Butchers, you're playing a totally set of offense. Like that offense isn't the same. So my real question is, how do you guys see yourselves going forward defensively, obviously with AJ coming in, but how do you see you guys, progressing forward against the run game? Because that's what we've seen as being kind of the weakest spot for most defenses this year.
Yeah, so the last couple of games, the first 2 games, we're all like new guys, right? So a lot of new guys. Me in the box, with Sammy in the box. I think the LB from playing Will wasn't playing for us last year. So there's new guys. We need to like get chemistry together, and it was hard. Obviously, we have like a proper off season together or preseason together. So I think that we're improving from the Roosters game to this game. There's a lot of improvement. Obviously, with AJ coming in, it's going to allow everyone to play more freely. We're going to trust each other more. So even though it may have been a weak point in the first 2 games, I believe going forward is going to be one of our strong points.
Stopping the run game. That's just a big thing that we've been talking about on this show specifically. Is the run game has been very difficult to stop for everybody. Q, what else did you have to ask him?
My next question was, I was just about to say, with AJ coming in, do you think anybody will be able to really match up to your defense now?
No. Honest, no. Like AJ comes in, that just allows us to all play freely. I know for the first couple of games, I was playing a bit more timid. I didn't know some of the guys and how they played on defense. I didn't trust people as much as I should have. I trust AJ. Like if I'm about to like die and like who you trust, I'm calling AJ up like, yo, AJ, come help me. You know what I'm saying? So like I trust this guy. We practice together, and he brings like a whole new energy to the defense, really. So I know coming for the Roosters Helsinki game, Wolverines game, that if they want, they can run it on us as much as they want. But if they want to win the game, they gotta find another way to win because they won't be able to run it. And we all know about Tommy being a lockdown, so it's gonna be a great season for us.
Okay, all right. Speaking of the Wolverines matchup, okay, let's get into it then, Kadel. All right, so let's just speak hypothetically. The run game. Y'all gonna shut that down. The Wolverines won't be able to run against y'all. Now, I know you're a linebacker, but it's been said, and I don't know if they backed it up yet, but that they have probably the most dynamic receiving core in the league. You have 4 guys who could be starters on any other team playing receiver for this team. how do you think you guys match up with that with your defensive scheme? Like you said, you got a great D lineman. Your linebackers are great, but I'm just gonna say this: you can't run with Sebastian Sane. Like that's not gonna happen. You can't be running with Cedric Johnson. So how do y'all match up? Like how do you do that? How do you stop the pass game?
I just want to say first, Sebastian's my boy. We play at Frankfurt together, but Tommy's a beast, man. Tommy's like a beast. You guys see what happens? They tried Tommy, man. Like
Tommy can't guard everybody though. That's all I'm saying is, what are you gonna do for everybody else? He only can guard one person.
That's all you need to do. Guard Sebastian. I trust Eero, I trust Tino, and Max. Like Max is the brains of the defense. We're gonna calculate a way to make sure we stop every part of the offense. So it's not gonna be like we stop the run game and we win the game. We gotta stop the run game and stop the pass game. And I believe that my defense is fast enough, smart enough to match up with any defense in the league, offense in the league. This defense is good enough to compete in GFL. So I think if we stop Sebastian, it'll be good. The biggest threat would be, for me, the QB because their QB can run and pass. So once we stop the run game, we stop the pass game, eyes in the Q.
Okay, all right, that's a plan. Q, you got anything else? He answered. Hey, that's what I wanted to know, and you just told me what I needed to know.
Yeah, it was good.
I was mine would be it's not really a question. I was just gonna make a statement. I know you said Tommy will be on Sebastian, but I was saying I think Tommy should be on Said. I'm just gonna be honest with how the season is going right now. Y'all need to make sure that somebody is on Said because
Tommy said it from the get-go. He wants to go against the best. We're gonna give him the best. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We're not going to take our best defender and put him on someone who isn't the best receiver. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like that's to be said. I think that's what Q is saying is that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm saying like no, don't get me wrong. I know Seabass is good. I give Seabass all his credit, but I'm saying right now how the Wolverines season is going, Said should be the first threat. I think coming into this game. Yeah, that's the one who. You know,
hey, I feel you guys completely. But the Helsinki 1-1 right now, right?
Yeah.
The one game they won, Seabass had 200 yards, right?
130 on 4 catches.
Yeah.
The game they lost, he had 30 yards, right?
Yeah. So that's the cause and effect. Okay. Hey.
I'm seeing the correlation. It's 2 games in, but I'm seeing the correlation. You feed your playmakers the ball, you win the game. You don't, you see what happens.
You got it's kind of a point. I mean, I think
he does have a point. I also feel like if Fortier doesn't come out the game, Said probably has 3 touchdowns, 300 passes, 300 receiving yards though. I think if Fortier don't come out the game, Said still has a better game.
Oh, I thought you said about against. Okay, I thought you said about against us, man.
Yeah. No, not against you.
Yeah. No, like I give him all his respect. Obviously, he's a baller, you know, but at the same time, we have to think about it as we know who the ballers are on the team. We know who the ballers are on our team. And Tommy said it since I met him. Because when I met him, I came up to him like, hey, Sonny is playing. He said, that's the boy I want. You know, Tommy be talking.
That's the matchup. Yeah.
Try him, man. Try him.
That's the matchup then, yeah.
All right. Hey, that's it right there, then. Kadel, we ain't going to take no more of your time, man. Appreciate you coming on the podcast, and good luck to you and the Steelers this weekend against Wolverines.
Thank you, man.
Good luck, man.
Thank you.
Okay, it's time for tough questions. Let's ask each of these teams a question that they need to answer with their gameplay this weekend. Q, I'll let you go first with the Roosters. What's a question you got for them?
Roosters' question would be, can they put together a complete game and turn this season around? It's been a while since they started off 0-2. Been a really long time. And I know this isn't a familiar place for them. My question would be to the Roosters are can you guys put together a complete game defensively, offensively, for teams, and get this back on the road and try to compete for this championship?
Yeah, and I'm gonna go to their competitors, the Butchers. And my question for the Butchers would be, can you continue to improve? We've seen in the first two games an offense that has improved. I'm 100% behind what they've been doing offensively. I feel like they're kind of gaining their stride. Defensively, we've seen a defense that has been good in the first half of two games, and pretty much that's it. They haven't done anything to improve in the second half, and it's cost them two games. So what I want to see from the Butchers is, can you continue to improve both offensively and defensively going to the next game? Next team we'll talk about, the Wausau Royals. Give me a question for them, Q.
Can the Wausau Royals start fast? Can they come out, put a drive together, beginning of the game, score touchdowns, or are they going to be that, all right, let's crank up in the second half team? So I think the Wausau Warriors, if they come out and can put points up early, they might, possibly, I don't say might possibly, but the Warriors can be easily one the top two teams if they come out and give a complete four quarters. These last two games, they've just have these like semi-first halves where they like, all right, we're trying to figure it out, we're going to get it together, but then come out in the second half and they moving. So the question with them is, can they start fast?
Yeah. For their opponents this week is going to be the Crocodiles. My question to the Crocodiles is, I want to know, is this the real Crocodiles team? We saw two totally different teams in the first 2 weeks. So is the first week team, is that team going to come back, or is the second week team that we saw play against the Roosters, who we can all say the Roosters played bad? So now you're going to be playing against the Royals, who we've seen as a team capable of being one of the top in the league. So I want to know, am I going to see the real Crocs team this weekend? Am I going to see what you're really capable of? Because this is probably going to be your most difficult task to date. Talking about the last game of the weekend, give me something on the Steelers, man.
Man, the Steelers, how many points can they score? Steelers, how many points can you score? Right now, these guys say he's scoring 7 touchdowns a game in these right now. So they're on fast pace to put up some major numbers in these 5 games. And also, I don't think the Steelers have put together a complete game. So that's another, could be another question. Like, is this what they're going to be going into the rest of these games? Can they play better? But more than anything, like how many points can you really put up?
Just this is random. Like, there's not even part of the segment, but hey, man, we ain't been able to say 50 burger yet. 2 whole weeks, 50 burger. Steelers, help us out. We'd love to say 50 burger on the podcast. But get back to the tough questions. The Wolverines, last question of the week. This is kind of a personal one for the Wolverines. You guys playing the Steelers. My question for them is, can they win in Kuopio for the first time since like 2016? Like, going all the way back to last time both of these teams were in Division I, they have not beaten Kuopio in Kuopio. And now they have to go up there. And they've probably played about, 6 or 7 games there. They played playoffs there last year too. So they played away and lost, and then played the playoffs and lost. Like, it's a lot. They beat them at home, but can they beat them in Kuopio? That's my question. Can you beat the Kuopio Steelers in Kuopio? I know it's a different team, but people on the Wolverines and people on the Steelers know. There's a little bit of rivalry there. So can you guys win in Kuopio? That's my question for you this week. And those are our tough questions of the week. Okay, so the Maple League returns on Thursday with the Butchers at the Roosters, then the Royals versus the Crocodiles on Friday, and the Steelers host the Wolverines on Saturday. Our panel of football experts will pick winners for this week's games on our Instagram account at American Football in Finland. Feel free to find us in the comments with your thoughts. Just an update on the pick'em. Perfect Pervis is in first right now at 4-2. Coach Q is in second at 3-3. Coach Tuomas Heikkinen is in third at 2-4, and the Finnish Swami is also tied in third at 2-4. So, this last week wasn't that great for me. I went 1-2. I think we all went 1-2, right?
Yeah.
We all went 1-2, and that's all right. Shit. I was 3-0
I'm
the week before.
gonna take the lead this time. I'm gonna take the lead this week.
I haven't made my
Guaranteed.
picks yet, but I feel like we're gonna have a mix up this week. So hopefully that gets us somewhere else. But yeah, that's it for this episode of American Football in Finland. Hope it was worth the listen and the watch. Q, any last words before we go?
Now, just good luck to all the teams that are competing. Stay safe and give us what you got.
Yeah, we want to see it all. If you enjoy the show, please follow us at Apple Podcasts, Google Play, or wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to rate us 5 stars as well. Anything less tells us that you are a hater. You can follow us on the Gram and Facebook at American Football in Finland. Until next time, never forget
TIF.